This is Johnny and Jose with TigerBomb MMA, and tonight we'll be breaking down Bellator 256, Beta versus Machida 2. Be going over the main card. I'm going to sprinkle a couple bets from the prelims for good measure. But yeah, we'll be going over the main card and then giving you our thoughts and predictions. And we'll start off actually with, from what it says, the first fight of the night, Cody Law versus Nathan Kharib. The main reason I'm bringing this dude up is because Cody Law is probably going to be easy money. This guy is really good wrestling background, trains at AT&T. I know what I said. And he's probably going to win by submission. I think his go-to move is the Darth choke. And right now it says he's 2-0, but he does have quite a bit of a amateur background. He again trains at ATT. I've seen him actually on Instagram Live wrestling with Jorge Masvidal, and dude looks solid. I think he's a good prospect. For damn sure, Bellator's going to try to build him up. So I've got Cody Law to win this one, either the under or by submission. If you want to sprinkle that prop in, because I don't think he's going to get beaten by a Nathan Kharib. I think his wrestling's too good, and he's just so damn well rounded.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have too much to add to this, other than he is going to uh, bring it in the first round. So I'd say, well, I don't think for this fight they're gonna add one of those crazy props where it's like under a round, whatever. I
Mm.
think under a round and a half is sufficient to for this to sprinkle on it. But for sure, bet on Cody to win this fight. Add him to a parlay if needed.
On the opposite end of that, Julia Budd is another person you should look into. Julia Budd is a veteran in the women's division at featherweight. Her last loss was, of course, to Chris Cyborg, but she took her ass beating like a woman, and she's 14-3. It's a really solid fighter. I remember watching her fight in Invicta in Kansas City, and then when she would get the takedown, you would see her booty jiggle, and I was like, Julia Budd, yeah. So I've always really liked Julia Budd. She's a good decisionator. She's very reliable in that sense. She wins a lot, right? Just that once she has a certain level of women's MMA, we really see where she stands. But fighting a woman like Diana Silva, I think she's got this in the bag. She's just too skilled. So yeah, I got Julia Budd by decision pretty easily.
Yeah, there's really not much to say about Julia. Julia, when she's not fighting, the cream of the crop or these assassins like Cyborg, or if she stepped in there with somebody like Amanda Nunes or Valentina, or even Jessica Andrade, I would say she is going to decision the hell out of these other women. That's really the way to go. There's add her to a prop with the other guy we just mentioned,
Cody Law.
Cody Law. Yes, Cody Law.
To begin the main card, we've got a lightweight matchup between Dan Moret and Goichi Yamaguchi. And it's really indicative of what Bellator does. They match guys up that should not be matched up with like top level talent. Goichi Yamaguchi is 25-4 against a guy coming in here in Dan Moret at 14-6. Currently, Moret is on a one fight win streak. Prior to that, he was on a 3 fight losing streak. He actually fought in the UFC, and I did not remember this guy whatsoever from his UFC run. But he did fight some killers. He fought Gilbert Burns. He fought Alex White does his thing, and Jared Gordon does his thing. But I guess he did fight Burns, so that's one killer. As for Yamaguchi, he's a ground fighter. He's a jiu-jitsu specialist. He is one of these like a Machida type. He's a Japanese Brazilian fighter, and his last loss was to Michael Chandler, who's now fighting for the UFC title. It should be a pretty easy one. I got Goichi Yamaguchi to win this one by submission. I want to say round number one, and yeah, I'm going to say round number one, Goichi Yamaguchi to win by submission.
That's exactly how I'm looking at it. This isn't the UFC, so I think this is a pretty lopsided matchup. I was originally thinking second round submission, possibly rear naked choke. but I think it's going to be possibly a arm triangle first round. Or let me see. He's probably going to want to take him down, to pass him. Let's go with a Kimura first round for Goichi.
Our next matchup at featherweight, we've got Cat Alpha Zingano versus Phoenix Olivia Parker. And this one, man, let me read you the odds. Minus 610 for Cat Zingano and a plus 425 for Olivia Parker. And uh dog or pass or just pass in general. Man, this one's tough because Zingano should win, right? She's got everything going for her except, her declining skill set. She should win this one pretty easily. She's got the more experience. She's fought the better competition. But her last fight against Gabrielle Holloway, she looked pretty bad. Like there were some spots in there where she lost position. And I just was kind of flabbergasted. Like I put a little bit of money on her that time. I'm like, why the hell not? It's Bellator. I need some action. And usually the women's fights are the ones that kind of give you that near heart attack that makes you feel alive. But I cannot touch this one whatsoever. If anything, I will potentially sprinkle a little bit of money on Olivia Parker or the decision because I don't think these two are going to finish each other. So yeah, I'll probably stay away from it. More than likely pick the decision. Oh man, I'll pick Kat Zingano just because she's got the more experience. These girls are roughly the same age, 38, 39. Yeah, but I wouldn't touch this one whatsoever unless you're going with a prop if you want to feel ballsy. But yeah, I've got Kat Zingano by decision. And unfortunately, the fans lose out on this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this was put on the main card. This should have been, close to the bottom of the card. I guess it's just name recognition value for Kat Zingano. They, for some reason, want to push her and they think she has value. But yeah, the only reason to actually place some money on this fight is if you want that, roller coaster feeling, butt clenching action for, 15 minutes you know, of a fight where Kat should win, but she's going to make it close. She's going to look, like she just got off of a what's that ride? What's that ride at carnivals where people like standing against like this round thing that goes, I don't know how to describe it.
It's like the
Yeah,
whirly
like
twirly or some
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah, the whirly twirly that kind of goes from side to side, but it spins really fast,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like standing against it. So she's looking like she's, whenever the fight starts, she looks like she just got out of that thing. It's her. She has like awkward foot positioning now, like awkward movement. I'm not sure how that happened because when she was fighting in the UFC, when she was like, for example, when she originally fought like Misha Tate, Amanda Nunes early on in her UFC career, she had pretty good movement, pretty good wrestling, that which led her to a title shot against Ronda Rousey, and then
Mm-hmm.
everything just went downhill for her. And it's still going downhill, even in Bellator. Even wins just aren't looking good for her. She should, by all means, win this, considering she's surprisingly the younger fighter here.
Yeah.
She's going to be spry, but after her last fight, I don't know, man. These odds are ridiculous. There's no way she's a minus 610
Man, do you
favorite.
remember the good days of Kat Zingano? Like when you mentioned the Amanda Nunes fight, dude, she suplexed her and then elbowed her into oblivion. And I'm like,
Yes.
holy shit, Cat. Like Ronda Rousey's she's gonna get it. And then we were there, right? We were there at the Honda Center watching
Yeah.
Howdy Honda Housey. And I remember getting my camera ready. I don't know why the fuck I was using a camera. I had a camera phone and I looked down to get it ready. And I looked back up and she was already submitted. I'm like, oh man, I literally missed the entire fight. It was like
Yeah.
16 seconds, dude.
I was extremely disappointed in that event for several reasons. One reason was I believe the original main event for that fight was supposed to be TRT Tour versus Luke Rockhold or
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines. There were like several fights that dropped off of that was supposed to be like this pretty big event, but then several fights dropped off, and they ended up making Ronda Rousey and Kat the main event.
Well, actually,
So that
to correct myself, sorry, it was the Staples Center, not the Honda Center. That was
yeah,
Anaheim.
Staples.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the it was supposed to be a great event. Turns out, then they ended up making Ronda the main event. So I was kind of disappointed in that, and I was also disappointed that Vin Diesel was there cheering her on. It wasn't the greatest of nights, but it was, something to be remembered. Um, that is to say, the Staples Center has the best damn nachos in the world, man. They're just
Oh,
very
dude.
simple, just cheese, and jalapenos, but they do it right. They have fresh chips, super hot cheese, fresh pickled jalapenos, or I should say, you know, freshly opened, like a fresh can of jalapeno, whatever. Anyway, they do them right, man. I don't understand why these other sports arenas and places just can't get it right. But Staples Centers, shout out, hashtag best nachos in the world. Yeah, no, I can go on about those nachos all night, and that would make for a more interesting 15 minutes than this fight is going to give anybody. But as I mentioned, if you want that butt clenching action, uh, you know, bet, whatever the minimum is on Kat Zingano, or bet, or screw it, max better. Really, bet your mortgage on her, bet your rent on her. That'll really get make this an exciting fight for you, which excuse me, otherwise won't be. One other thing to note is that it says here that Olivia is 4 inches taller than Kat. So I'm actually looking forward to the weigh-in. I want to see how they match up, because if it's, I don't know, man. I get the feeling that you do have a point. It's either dog or pass on this, realistically,
Mhm.
because I don't know. Maybe Olivia has some real good hips, and she's not going to let Kat, drag out the fight on the ground or against the cage. I don't
One
know.
thing I forgot to mention is that Kat Zingano has the equivalent of a glass jaw, but her eye, because the moment Megan Anderson touched it, she crumbled.
Oh,
That's kind of a low joke, but yeah. When you mentioned that she's taller, like if she does land a kick, she goes for the eyes, and she ain't coming back from that.
well, hopefully Olivia saw some tape on that and is working on her high kicks.
You're going with Zingano or Parker on this one?
Oh man, this is tough. Well, here's the thing: if you want to live on the edge, go with Zingano. Max better if you want. I mean, she's, for all intents and purposes, she realistically should win. Keyword is should. However, after her last bout, I don't know, man. She's lost in the last few years. She's lost fights that she should have won. And well, Olivia Parker isn't exactly a spring chicken. She is a little bit taller. I don't know. It's really Kat's fight to lose, and I think it's hard, man. I just go with I just go with the over. Forget a side. I mean, if you really want to pick a side, then that's on you, man. Because these odds are ridiculous, especially for this fight. No way to either of these fighters warrant the odds being what they are.
Well, I'm going to move on just because we spent a lot of time on that fight. But
Well, and their Staples Center has some good nachos, man.
I
It was
mean,
worth it
we
was
might
worth
have
the
to
time.
do a video just on the nachos.
Yeah.
Next up at featherweight, we've got JBC Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, Jeremy Kennedy versus the kid Adam Boric. I actually think this one is very fascinating. The odds are near even, minus 120 for Kennedy and minus 110 for Boric. Just hit the microphone. I like this matchup quite a bit because Adam Boric is a good striker, but damn it, I hit the thing again. Adam Boric is a good striker, but his takedown defense is questionable. His last loss was to Darian Caldwell, who took him down, didn't even have hooks in, and then just choked him out with a rear naked choke. And then prior to that, he was losing to Aaron Pico. Pico was taking him down and holding him down and controlling him. It's just that Pico kind of was in that phase where he had all the potential, but he just hadn't made it click yet. Jeremy Kennedy is a very good grappler. for sure he's going to try to take this to the ground. So it's very likely that we might see that. But as we know, when a striker's deficiency is his takedown defense, he has to be working on it. So we'll have to see, because for sure Boric is going to just blow Jeremy Kennedy out of the water on the striking. His striking isn't terrible, but his bread and butter is the ground. Currently, the odds again they're near even, so it's very tough for me to actually pick one. Even when it comes to like their physical, they're very even. They're both 5'11", half-inch reach advantage for Jeremy Kennedy. I don't think he'll be able to really utilize that. I'm gonna go with Jeremy Kennedy just because I have a feeling he's going to just grapple F Adam Boric. So I'll go with Jeremy Kennedy to win this one by decision.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Um, but I think the grappling is what's going to make the difference in this fight. Adam, if Jeremy chooses to stand with Adam, I think Adam is going to show that he clearly has the advantage in this fight. Um, not, well, I shouldn't say he's going to overly dominate him, but he's going to be clearly the better striker. Then I think once that happens, maybe for the first, couple minutes in the first round, Jeremy's going to go to his bread and butter and just start grappling the hell out of him for the next 2.5 rounds. That's unless he manages to somehow submit him. But I think this is going to be just kind of a prolonged grappling match. So I'll also go with Jeremy Kennedy, but more than that, I think probably the over would be a pretty good bet.
And before we get into the co-main and main event, just make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. We love doing this, and we love hearing from people that love MMA. Like Bellator, we did one last week. Didn't do very well compared to our UFC, but we don't give a shit. We're still going to do it because we love breaking down these fights. But to continue, we've got a matchup between Liz the Girl, Rilla Carmouche, and Vanessa Portal. And they're really putting these recently acquired UFC vets out on display for Bellator. Liz Carmouche currently is a minus 180 slight favorite. Vanessa Portal coming in here plus 145 slight underdog. And despite Liz Carmouche really being at that age, I think she still has something left in the gas tank. The only concern is that Vanessa Portal right now, she's 22-8. She's on a 4-fight win streak coming from Invicta. And take that as you will. Sometimes the girls in Invicta aren't very high caliber. They're just there for, record padding. For God's sake, she beat Pro Gonzalez, and she is, well, it's Pro Gonzalez, right? And as for Liz Carmouche, she was in the UFC. She has fought and beaten really tough competition. Her last loss was against Valentina Shevchenko, and Valentina didn't shred her to pieces, so that went to a decision. So that's a good thing. Knows that she can hang with the top of the division. She beat Jennifer Maya, and she beat Lucy Putilova, which is not saying anything anymore. She was one of my favorite female fighters in that division, but she kind of let me down quite a bit. Even in her hometown, she lost. Actually, that's where she lost. She lost to Liz Carmouche in her hometown. It was pretty bad. I got Liz Carmouche to win this one. She's just too damn strong. Her wrestling is going to be the key. I think she's going to take her down, Vanessa Porto, that is, and just control her on top, land enough ground and pound to eke out the decision. I don't see her getting submitted by Vanessa Portal. So I got Liz Carmouche to win this one by decision.
Yeah, this is going to be another one of those grinding decisions. Not really. I mean, Vanessa's record isn't too bad, but she did lose to Cyborg back in 2005. She did lose to she lost to Roxanne Modafferi in 2008. She lost to Amanda Nunes. And funny enough, she actually beat Jermaine Durandamy. Wow, in 2008. Those are It's a pretty good win. But she did trade wins and losses, funny enough, with Jennifer Maia in 2011 and 2016. Um, wow, and she beat Roxanne Modafferi. I'm pretty impressed with her wins over Roxanne Modafferi, but I have to say Liz Carmouche is a step above Roxanne Modafferi, both in the on the feet and especially on the ground. I think Liz is just gonna try to drag this on the ground, uh, and probably get at least, yeah, she's probably gonna get it. Probably gonna get all 3 rounds. She's gonna probably just feel. I foresee this fight. She's just gonna get a feel of this fight first couple minutes, and then she's just gonna take it to the ground. Actually, no, she's probably just gonna do that all 3 rounds. Um, yeah, not really much to say in this fight. Not. The odds are actually the odds aren't too bad considering I think Liz Carmouche is for sure probably gonna win. The odds here are actually a lot better than the ones for Kat Zingano. So yeah, I'd go with Liz for decision here.
In the main event of the evening, we've got the first quarterfinal bout between Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida. This is the second fight, and this is for the tournament, the quarterfinal tournament for the what is the light heavyweight championship. So this is the first fight, and then next week, I believe it will be Corey Anderson and Yagshim Muradov, which is going to be interesting to break down. But yeah, this is a interesting fight because the first fight was interesting. I remember that one so vividly. I just remember Ryan Bader not being developed yet. He wasn't the guy that he was destined to be when he won the Ultimate Fighter. He had gotten quite a bit of pretty bad losses. And that night, it was kind of like a mini tournament. It was a matchup between Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida. And then it was um, Shogun and Brandon Vera. I remember Dana saying, hey, whoever wins more impressively gets the next title shot. And I remember that fight vividly where Ryan Bader was just a fish out of water, could not get anywhere near Lyoto Machida. And then when he just rushed him, he got caught with like a straight punch. I can't remember if it was a left or a right, and it just folded Ryan Bader. And then Machida bows to him and then walks away. I'm like, holy shit, Machida. Like, and Machida's one of our favorite fighters. Like, he's one of the guys who got me into MMA back in like 2009. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. And yeah, ever since then he's been one of my favorite fighters. But unfortunately, I have to look at reality. He's coming off 2 losses, and those losses look really good, and they're really kind of tempting because you think to yourself, he only lost to Gegard Mousasi, who is the current middleweight champion in Bellator by split decision. And he lost to Phil Davis, who is a former light heavyweight champion, who is actually fighting the champion next by split decision. And it's like, maybe he has enough to knock out Ryan Bader again. At the age of 42 years old, I can't possibly think that. Currently, the odds are minus 300 for Ryan Bader and plus 240 for Lyoto Machida. So those odds are calling me like little voice in my head's like, he can do it. He can do it. I'm like, no, I can't let that shit get into my head. Funny enough, with Ryan Bader, I have a little nickname for him. It's quite clever. I call him Ryan Fader because I fade Ryan Bader all the time. I faded him in his last fight against Nemkov, and it paid off very handsomely. Um, but in this matchup, although we saw what happened years ago with Ryan Bader versus Lyoto Machida, it's a completely different matchup. Machida is not as fast as he used to be. He still has some of that movement, but it just isn't as effective. I saw Derek Brunson catch him and knock him out. And frankly, Ryan Bader's got improved striking. He knows how to put power into his punches. He knocked out Fader, for God's sakes. Did I say Fader? He knocked out Feodor, for God's sakes, with a really cheeky, I think it was a left hook. But man, yeah, it was like a very clean, goofy little left hook that just caught Fader clean. So I actually think Ryan Bader is going to unfortunately demolish Lyoto Machida. So I do have Bader to win. I'm going to say in the second round. I think he finally gets his revenge. He takes down Lyoto and then just ground and pounds him, unfortunately. So I have Ryan Bader to win this one by second round knockout.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that. I don't think that Ryan Bader has Lyoto Machida's number. It's just that Father Time just caught up with Lyoto Machida. It's just one of those unfortunate things. Had this rematch happened, their first fight was 9 years ago, but had the rematch happened, 8 to 7 years ago, would have been the same result. Fortunately, Lyoto's way past his prime, uh, as is Bader, but I think Bader just has enough to grind out a decision here. I don't think you'll be able to knock him out. I think you'll be able to maybe take him down. I don't know if you'll have enough to ground and pound him. Um, yeah, this isn't. This is Ryan Bader's fight to lose. If he gets knocked out by a flying front kick from Lyoto again, this is Bellator's. They're going to be a laughing stock, man, because they made this guy a double champ, and then he gets knocked out by a 42-year-old. That's going to look pretty damn bad. Right now, he's I think looking to get. I don't think he'll be able to beat Nemkov, but I think he's looking to at least get another fight in with him, which I'm pretty sure Bellator is more than willing to. I'm going with Bader reluctantly. I'm not really a fan of the guy, his style or anything, but I just don't think Machida, even has what it. I can't even say it, man. Yeah, Machida is one of my favorite fighters of all time, but unfortunately, he's way past his prime. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. Um, yeah, so I'm taking Bader by decision.
So what I'm going to do, just because like last week, the card with Pitbull, I actually made some decent money. So I'll probably put a pretty crazy parlay. I'll have Cody Law, of course. I'll have Julia Budd. I'll do the over on the Zingano fight. I'll have Yamaguchi to win, probably by submission. And I'll have Ryan Bader to win. So I don't know what the odds will be, but that'll be a ticket I'll be posting on Instagram at TigerBomb MMA. Do you want anything to add? Are you going to place any bets on this one?
No, I won't. I mean, there's no sports books around here, so I'll just be um, I'll just be probably following the fights on Friday, seeing who wins and whatnot. But I think but I don't want to say Bellator fights are a sure thing, but they're Bellator the way Bellator sets up their bouts and then, tries to set up their fighters is very similar to boxing. Where they try to build up fighters, they they don't what's the word? They don't like when fights are they don't rig fights. They're very calculated in how they like push their fighters and kind of pad their records a little bit. If you do place any of these bets, it'll make your night more interesting for Bellator if you have that available to you.
Well, those have been our picks for Bellator 256 Bader versus Machida 2. Once again, make sure you like, share, subscribe. We're trying to get up to what we're at 47 subscribers. Help us get up to 55 subscribers. Let's be realistic here. We're a small channel. We know where we're at. Yeah, we'd appreciate it greatly. Johnny and Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA, and we'll catch you at the next fight.